This is like live experimentation, man. Wow. One of the neat things about Burning Man is that it is not easy. People sometimes talk about it like a party, and there is party elements, but to me the most important, the most valuable experiences that I've had at Burning Man were the ones that were not easy. Often the ones that involved tears at some point, where I was tested in myself, in my beliefs, in my abilities, in my ability to let go, to surrender, and then eventually surrender to the unknown, and then be open to things that were beyond what I could have imagined for myself. This was, I believe, 2000. This was, I think, my third year, and my group of people, the Lust Monkeys, kind of joined up with another local San Diego group called Zara. And Zara was a massive vision with not a lot of people attached to it at this time. And Lust Monkeys, we had a lot of people and not so much vision. We enjoyed excess and we enjoyed insanity, but we didn't really have a clear vision of what we wanted to give to the Playa. So Zara said, look, we want to create this massive blacklit jungle with live grass inside, live sod inside, waterfalls, and at night it's totally blacklit, you know, with a jungle and dance floors and you know, hidden passageways, and we're like, whoa. And for some reason we said, yeah, we'll help, we'll do it. And so the Lust Monkeys of Zara was born for this year. And when you have a vision that large, you have to start working like now, like in January. And so we started meeting several times a month during the weekends and lots of times during the week to build and plan and prepare and cut these little plastic things that were neon that would glow and raise money, because, you know, and we had 100-something people and each person paid $200 or $300, I think. So we had a budget, but still, you know, we're talking about renting multiple trucks, you know, buying all sorts of fencing equipment. We had 10-foot at least ceilings. I'll show you some pictures of the project when we finally got it to the Playa and we started to build it. And you kind of see the scope of what I'm talking about. So here, as we are showing up on the Playa, you can see the height of the roof there. Here we are building it. Can you see, this is all on the Playa. We were building a massive, totally enclosed, wind enclosed, and then we had light fixtures all through the thing. Here I am. See, even before I had pink hair, I was pink. And then we started decorating it with all this black light, shrubbery, and jungle material. That's actually my brother there in the foreground. Until we had this massive, just rich jungle that would glow at night. And then we put in the grass, and here's people actually having a picnic on the live grass in the middle of the Playa. So this is during Burning Man, people having a picnic on the grass. The problem also with a vision this large is that no matter how much you build in advance, there's still a lot of work to be done on the Playa. So we got there early and we built, I think, Saturday and Sunday, and then it opens up on Monday, and we built on Monday, and then we built on Tuesday, and then we finally finished on Tuesday night, like Tuesday afternoon. So we told everyone, tonight is our opening party. And man, it is hard to skip 2 days of the burn because you've got work to do. I've changed my whole philosophy about on Playa projects after that week, because, you know, as you're like sweating and dirty and people are riding by going, wee, it's like, I want to go wee. Going wee, wee, wee all the way home has a different meaning once you go to Burning Man. And so we finally, that night, cranked the power, turned on the waterfalls, opened up the gates, and the DJs started booming, and people flooded in. And as people left our place, the feeling that I got as people were saying, like, wow, that is the coolest thing on the Playa. That is the best, this is the place to be. That's amazing. Whoa, people's minds were just blown. I mean, you saw the scope of it, When you're cruising around in the desert, and all of a sudden you go inside something, and it's this oasis. We actually had a one wall thing called fondle flowers, which were these kind of trees that you could put your arms in, and as people walked by, you would give them hugs. It was very intricate, a lot of labor, a lot of time, and it showed. For that night, on Tuesday night, when we had our launch party, that was the best place on the Playa, which in my mind is the best place on the planet. So the feeling of joy from gifting was so profound that night. It was one of the highlights, of my life, to be able to be a part of that magnitude of gift to the people that really would appreciate it in that way. So at some point in the night, we all pass out and do our thing. The next morning, a crazy windstorm kicks in. And now, Zara, at the time, we were on the 2 o'clock corner, which means in the horseshoe of the city, we were on the very edge corner of the sound camps. So we were not protected by any sort of other camps or any of the city. We were very much exposed to the wind. And it was a bad windstorm. It got worse and worse and worse. And at some point, the wind got underneath that structure that I was showing you, those walls, those big tall walls. And so once the wind kind of got under there, the whole thing just rolled up, and metal started bending. Bending pipes flew. And keep in mind, there's a gnarly windstorm, so there was tons of people inside living in the oasis, going, "Yay, this is so cool! Thanks for making this safe." Ooh! Suddenly, it was like a Dorothy was flying through the metal pipes, flying. Lighting. Fluorescent lights, or the black lights, the fluorescent light size one, flying through the air. Only the Playa magic can explain how no one was hurt. This was right before we launched. Here it is the next morning, or the next day after the storm. As you can imagine, this was devastating. Something that we had worked on for literally half a year or more. Hundreds, thousands of hours of man hours, tons of money, and it was only open for 6 hours. And then it was destroyed. Destroyed! Not just like, ooh, we need to tie this down and clean up. I mean, it was destroyed. And so, it was hard. As we were sitting around in the wreckage, I mean, I was crying. I think most of us were in tears. We had so much plans. We had so much vision of what we wanted this to be. For half a year, we'd been visualizing what we're going to be doing, what it's going to look like, how it's going to be, how it's going to feel when people are hanging out there all week. It's going to be the place. And then after less than a day, destroyed. And so we were stewing and stewing and stewing, and sometimes there were two things that really were powerful to me in this, as my tears are going down the dust streams of my face, and I'm just feeling so beaten, and so angry, and so two things happened. One, Mark Hinckley was the leader of our camp, this amazing guy who's gone on to take this Zara principles and actually create a charter school in San Diego, the Zara Charter School, based on the principles that he brought to this Burning Man camp, which is kind of mind-blowing in and of itself. But he's this great guy, and as much effort as we put into it, he put in even more into this project. And he rolled out of his tent, walked through the wreckage, and we were kind of like, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, like, I feel so bad. He lights a cigarette, and he looks around and he goes, well, it's a pretty good reminder that Mother Nature's the director of this play. We're just the actors. Apparently we misjudged what the theme of this show is all about. And just kind of went on his business. And I was like, that's it? You're not angry? I mean, And then not long after that, some people drove through our camp and asked about, where's Zara? You know, we're in the middle of this, and we're like, you know, kind of like looking for sympathy. This is it. And they're like, oh, okay. And they just rode on, like giggling and laughing. And I was like, how dare you go and have so much fun? Look at all this bad things to pay attention to. This is not what it's supposed to be. And I was like, wait a minute. Got on my bike, rode 30 feet away from our wreckage, and the sun was shining, people were laughing, fun things were happening. And I was like, oh. It was this great visual demonstration of attachment to outcome. I can stay in the bitter zone and kind of poke at this bruise, or I can go, oh, this is apparently the way I thought things were supposed to go was wrong. And it ended up being this huge turning point for me of letting go of attachment. Letting go of attachment is so critical in everything, because in anything, whether it's a breakup, whether it's a job, you're not upset that your boyfriend, girlfriend left you. You're upset because you think they shouldn't have. You're not upset that you lost a job. You're upset because you think you shouldn't have. Suffering is the result of wishing things were different. You're not upset that you lost your legs. You're upset because you think you shouldn't have. This is all very much Byron Katie stuff. And so that ability, whenever you're frustrated, is to question, say, oh, am I angry because I think things should be different? Am I frustrated because I think things should be different? If you can practice doing that, it's amazing how much you can let go of anger. Now sometimes it's like, yeah, but it's not fair. It's not fair. I should have... There's a great line in the Course in Miracles that says, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? That's a hard one to embrace. It's a hard one to let go of being right. That's one of the things that I've seen a lot in the Burning Man ticket buying fiasco. People have this righteous indignation, and rightfully so. They were in line, one of the first 2,000 people to click buy, and for whatever technical snafu, they got bumped, and they didn't get a ticket at the cheapest rate. That's unfair. So, now, a couple days later, tickets in hand, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? Do you want to keep attached to this festering, stinky thing that's in your hand because it's unfair? Or do you want to let it go and live in the miracle? Byron Katie says, if you argue with reality, you'll lose, but only 100% of the time. In many ways, I think that the core lesson of Burning Man is surrender, is non-attachment. That's when people, the great thing about it being so far away and being in this inhospitable place, you know, people who have never been go, well, I'd like to go, but I don't like dust, or I don't like hot. And it's like, right, because you're attached to the way you think things should be. I mean, it's tough to logically think through this, but the huge gift of this alternate world is that because it's so different, you have to let go. You will suffer if you think you can stay as clean as you can at home. If you think that you need to maintain the same rules or attitudes or even, you know, personal space that you have at home. When you surrender, magical things happen. Non-attachment is critical. And if the ticket buying process is what smacks you and kind of shakes you loose some of your attachment to the way things are supposed to be, well then, I hate to say it, but then you're lucky. Because it took me many years of going to the burn before I really had enough challenges and obstacles before I let go enough that I was able to see the great things happen. You can see in people's comments after the ticket fiasco. Some people were like, whoa, that isn't what I would have liked to have spent my day on, but thank goodness I have a ticket. I have so much cool things to look forward to. And some people were like, this is wrong, we need a refund, this is unfair, and days later, still, this is wrong. It's like, you know, what does the Buddha say about you holding a burning ember to try to throw it at somebody? Now, this goes back to the whole crap or cone idea, that you always have an ice cream cone in your hand and crap on your shoe. And where you place your focus determines how happy you are and how much you enjoy your life. So clearly, spending all day kicking refresh and then getting a ticket that is $100 more than you expected, that is crap on your shoe. I get it. Now, one, at some point during the day, practicing a little bit of non-attachment may have saved you that deep anger for the wasted time. But there's two ways to go about this shit on your shoe. Some people parade around like this, demanding that people recognize the stench that they have to deal with. Demand that everyone recognize the injustice. Do you smell this? Meanwhile, their ice cream cone is dripping on some table somewhere. Forgetting that this whole process was to get you to some place where you sacrifice and give and surrender and toil. But this toiling was not what we expected, so it sucked. Now, truth is, the tickets process was terrible. It broke. It was unfair. So it is absolutely acceptable to take a stick and try to get some of that poop off your shoe. To try to say, hey, you know what? I got some suggestions for next year. One, the tiered system, we've outgrown it in its current phase. If you go through 3 tiers in one day, that doesn't work. Lightning in a Bottle has a new thing that they're doing this year where they have a single day of early bird tickets. And if you get a ticket on the early bird day, you get it at a reduced price. Not a hugely reduced, but reduced. I'm a believer that we should raise the ticket prices for everybody, because as it is now, people see $210, and so you go, okay, cool, I'll take off work that day and click, 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 and I'll save, you know, whatever money, and I'll get a $210 ticket, when the reality is a $210 ticket is supposed to be these kind of sold below cost tickets for people that really need it. There is a lot that I think that can be done with the ticketing system. I think that we should have a raise the tickets prices and increase the number of scholarships and increase the money for art grants. It only sounds, a $320 ticket only sounds terrible if you're attached to the idea of a $210 ticket. If we just knew that it was going to be $320, then we would get used to it. We would plan for it. But we have a system right now where we have this crazy entitlement that's happening, where we believe we deserve it, and maybe we do. But in the current system, it really makes people feel like they got screwed if they didn't get that ticket. Whereas I think the intention is to have it feel like you were gifted this opportunity to get a cheap ticket. I think we can change the system next year so that that's better, and I hope we do. That being said, that's how Burning Man works. Every year, the whole concept of having a flat place with no residual buildings, every year Burning Man starts from a blank canvas. And everything brought there is done so intentionally with the lessons from the previous year. So if, you know, keep in mind, that, several years ago, the man was placed on top of hay barrels. And rangers would have to hang out there and be like, hey, can you not smoke on this huge, flammable mountain? And eventually people were like, yeah, you know what? Let's change that. Let's not put the man on a massively flammable mountain that we have to panic all week long about. And in that way, everything changes, everything evolves. And so right now people are all frustrated about the ticket process. Great! What a great opportunity to start contributing ideas. This is a duocracy. Start thinking about what do you think should happen? I mean, a lot of people come to this and say, there should be more discounted tickets. Okay, well, the budget for Burning Man is online and transparent and public. So how would you adjust the budget to deal with your plan of more cheaper tickets? Less art grants? Part of the whole participants only mentality goes all the way through, that even if somebody else is in charge of it, you need to think of yourself as being on the same team. And if you don't like the way something's happening, you have opportunities to at least voice your opinion and offer suggestions. People have this sense of like the organization of Burning Man is like, you know, this, well, a few vocal people have a sense that there's this kind of, you know, power-hungry group or something like that. If you're working for Burning Man, you're doing it because you have a love for this movement, for these people, and you put your heart into it, and you put so much into it. So I felt so bad on the ticket day when there was so much vileness and anger, especially not directed towards the process, but towards the people, and, you know, calling them idiots and things like that. It's like, kind of like if you're on the Playa and you're dancing at some big sound camp and your favorite DJ's playing and you're just so into it, yeah, 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 and all of a sudden, and their generator runs out of gas. You have a bunch of options. One, you can start screaming, "What the fuck, man? You guys stupid? You guys don't know how much gas this thing takes? Come on! You know we want to be, what the fuck?" Or, you can go, "Huh, alright, well, what else is going on?" and wander away. Or, you can say, "Ooh, my camp has extra gas. Run, I'm gonna go get some gas for you guys," and run and go get your gas can. Or, you can go, "Huh, it's kind of quiet," and go, the only response that is not okay is going, "You suck." This is a participant's culture. This is everyone's responsibility. And if you don't like something, walk away or fix it. It's very simple. Or start your own. I look forward to the events that all these frustrated people are going to start and do so much better. Awesome. In the end, it's about non-attachment. It's about letting go of the way you think it's supposed to be so that you can appreciate the way it is. And maybe there are positive things in there that you may not have noticed at all while you're focused on the shit on your shoe. So, thank you! Thank you for this wonderful rite of passage, Burning Man organization. Thank you for this months before we actually have to deal with the sandstorms and the weather and the lines of traffic. Months before we're getting this kind of like intro to non-attachment. What a gift! Thank you for teaching us so quickly in the process of preparing for Burning Man that things are not going to go the way we want them to, but they'll go exactly the way they're supposed to. See you at home.
You only live once. Enjoy the color.